So here are the questions about describing the features of alkane structures and distinguish between an alkane and a cycloalkane. So the first thing we need to see is that we're dealing with a group of compounds. These are called alkanes. And what we talked about in class previously was looking at the prefixes. So we talked about methane, ethane, propane. So that prefix here at the beginning tells us how many carbons we have. So meth means one, we have one carbon, ethane has two carbons, and propane has three carbons. And that ANE part, okay, just tells us that we have single bonds between carbon atoms. Okay. Now, we are next week going to look at other functional groups, and we'll look at alkenes and alkynes where we have double and triple bonds. This is the only thing we've looked at so far is the alkane. So this is the simplest of organic compounds that we're going to be dealing with, or that even exist. So ANE just means a single bond between carbon atoms. All the atoms have single bonds between them. So think about when we're looking at organic compounds, when we're looking at the names, what you're doing is you're breaking down the parts of the name. So when you look at, we talked about cardio in class, so cardio means heart. So everything has a, every chunk of the word has a meaning. So the ANE just means single bonds between carbons. The prefix means how many carbons are in there. The next part of this is distinguish between alkane and cycloalkane. Okay, so when we have cycloalkane, so the alkane part doesn't change. It still means we have single bonds between carbon atoms. The next part we're adding here is the cyclo. And what we look at there is, remember that a cycle, okay, so we talk about the water cycle, it goes from one step to another, okay, and it comes all the way back to where it started. So there's some kind of a loop in there. So when we have a cycloalkane, what we're looking at is we just have carbons in some sort of ring, okay. So that's the only difference. We still have single bonds because we have the ANE ending, but now we have a ring structure. And so that just determines, the cyclo just tells us that we're dealing with a ring. We can still add in our hydrogens here. And remember, every carbon has 4 bonds. So these are all, they were implied hydrogens until we drew them in. And so we can determine the number of hydrogens simply because we know every carbon has to have 4 bonds.